This morning, we're being joined by the UN Women Country Representative to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Madam Beatrice Eyong. Thank you so much for staying with us on Sunrise early this morning. And I don't know, is there a greeting for this season?
Actually, it's just a campaign slogan, which you have just read.
Okay.
Unite to fight against digital violence, against women and girls.
Against women
and sometimes
girls.
we usually say, stop violence.
Stop violence. Well, that one will be a greeting. I think we can say that at the end of the program. Stop violence, at least to help our viewers remember what it is that this campaign is really about. But so far so good, because I have watched over the years. I've participated and also questioned, interviewed a lot of participants over the years on these campaigns. How effective would you say that they have been? Have we seen significant progress since this campaign, this 16 days of activism started?
Yes, I think, first of all, thank you for inviting me, UN Women, to be here. Yes, I think it has results. It's the biggest campaign. Sometimes people carry out acts of gender-based violence without knowing. And sometimes they don't know that maybe what you're saying or what you're doing, it's gender-based violence. But with this sensitization, advocacies that we are doing during this period, people are becoming more and more aware of what it means to gender-based violence. So there is increased awareness of policymakers. They now know that certain actions, certain acts that they may do may be looked at as gender-based violence. And also the women themselves, they are becoming more and more involved in what it is gender-based violence. But there's also something positive that is coming out, is that the reporting of gender-based violence cases, incidences, is growing. So many women are now free to go to different places, like we have the one-stop centers, we have centers, referral pathways, that they can go and say, this is what happened to me, and their problems will be looked into. So I think it has an effect, but I think maybe, as you're saying, we need to do a study to actually determine whether the 16 days of activism, what is bringing on the table. But we have seen changes in terms of awareness, in terms of policies, in terms of engagement of different partners, even traditional leaders. Everyone is just involved with this campaign.
That's good to hear. Well, yesterday we also saw the police women, well, not just police women, women in the security sector in general, host a walk here in Abuja, and, talking about how women being in that sector are making a difference in the security space. It's very important. And some people will say, well, we're looking at digital violence this year, but it would seem that in Africa, particularly in Nigeria today, and even in the ECOWAS region, to whom you said the representation, or you're a representative of the United Nations, it would seem our problems are still largely physical. So when we look at this theme, do you think that it really can resonate with us when we're looking at digital violence? Or do you think that we shouldn't wait until we have a pervasive use of the internet before we begin to look at digital violence?
No, I think digital violence has just added another layer of gender-based violence. That's what I think, and I think it's very, very important, because 95% of all deepfakes are targeting women. At least 95% are targeting women and girls. And 58% of Nigerian women have experienced online abuses. So it's a real issue. It's not, because sometimes the digital violence translates into physical violence. We've seen cases in other countries where online bullying has resulted to suicide, has resulted to murder. So it's something we have to talk about. And you know very well that we've become glued to our phones. We've become glued to social media. I think every one of us, even those of us who are old at this level, we are still seriously involved in social media. And so the more those attacks are done online, the more people they are touching, even much more. Because if you take physical violence, in Nigeria, it's 1 out of 3. It's about 30%. But if you take online attacks, it is already 58%.
58%
of women, yeah.
1 out of 3 physical violence,
yeah.
and online we're already looking at 58%.
Yeah, 58.
Well, the reason I ask this is because in recent times, I mean, I'm sure you've been paying attention to what has been happening within the Nigerian space. Security has been on the front burner for us for quite a while now, and even more so with the recent kidnappings of girls from a school in Kebbi State, a government school in Kebbi State, the kidnap of children in Niger State, worshippers being taken, and we know that a lot of women are usually worshippers, so we saw them being taken, and usually they're vulnerable to some of these things. So some people will say, well, while this is a global thing to celebrate, do you think that there is a way that we can also highlight the fact that we're not yet past, we still have the Rubicon to cross for physical violence? Or do you think that this can go pari passu?
Yeah, I think both of them, we have to talk about both of them. We have to handle both of them, because we have not even finished with the physical violence. We have not finished. It's pervasive. It's everywhere. In every development sector. You can find it. In politics, women face gender-based violence. Economically, they face gender-based violence. At home, in schools, in markets. So it has not been handled. What we are bringing out with this campaign is saying that in addition to the physical space, we are now witnessing online abuses. And we think that policymakers need to take that serious, need to enforce laws, need to protect the users of online spaces. So instead of empowering online users, we witness today that it is being used to disempower. It means it is actually undoing what we are doing on the ground, the physical violence. So all of them, they're important.
Well, you have key goals of the campaign, certain things that you are hoping that this campaign will do. Encourage families, communities, faith spaces, schools, workplaces, and governments to speak up and act is one of them. You want to strengthen support for survivors by promoting laws, social services, and justice systems. You also want to challenge harmful norms that normalize abusive behavior, and you want to empower boys and men to become true partners in building a safe world. That's correct?
Yes.
So the question is, how do you intend to do number 4, which is empowering boys and men to become partners in building a safe world?
Yes, it's the participation and involvement of men and boys has been a very big strategy UN Women is using. And it's not only UN Women, other partners, stakeholders are actually working with men and boys. You know, how far we have arrived at talking about gender equality and women's empowerment, it has been with the support of men. So without men, we cannot advance. And you know, as of now, men still hold the power, most of the power in most sectors. And again, what we've seen with the studies that we've also seen that men are also at most times, they are the perpetrators. So it's just talking to women and women organizing themselves is not enough. We need men to be with us. And that's why we have he for she's networks. We work with traditional and religious leaders, you know, because they are the kind of gatekeeper, and they are the first instances where women can run to in rural areas. They are the first places that women can run seeking for refuge and solace. So we work with them, we sensitize them, and today we are happy to see what they are doing on their own. We have communities where certain practices, harmful practices, have totally been stopped. Like in Cross River State, we had the money wife practice, where the girl was literally given to a man of the father's age just because the man borrowed some money to the father. So all those kind of practices have been stopped now by involving men, traditional leaders. But also we also know that most of the policymakers, more of the policymakers, you know, the issue of women's representation in decision-making positions. More of those positions are being held by men. So we need to be talking to them so that policies can change, strategies can change, real actions can actually change. I take, for instance, the security institutions. Today, you can walk into a security institution and you can talk freely about the issues of gender-based violence. They will understand because of the work that we've been doing. So involving men is very, very important. Another example I'll give you is our Secretary General, the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. He actually, when he came, he decided that he was going to push the gender agenda. And today, as we're speaking, 50-50 of men and women representing decision-making, which means the women will speak for the women and the men will also speak for the men. So I think men have a very huge role to play, and we will continue with the working with men.
Indeed. One of the things that you also hope to do is to keep the conversation active, so violence is not hidden behind shame or silence. How do you intend to do that after the 16 days of activism?
That's a very interesting question, because people think that all what we do is just around 16 days. No, actually it's 365 days. But 16 days is just for sensitization, creating awareness. What we do in terms of reducing both online and offline gender-based violence is strengthen legal frameworks. We work with the government, with other stakeholders to make sure that the laws that protect and promote women's rights are strengthened. And you know, Nigeria has ratified about 75% of all international judicial texts, protocols, resolutions to protect and promote women's rights. The problem is at the level of domestication and implementation. So we carry high-level advocacies at the level of decision makers at the federal level, but we also meet governors. We also go down to the states to sensitize and to work with them so that they can actually discourage gender-based violence. We also have we have networks like the Governor Spouses Forum. They are doing marvelous work. We've been working with them. They are actually on the ground in their states, actually sensitizing people, and not only sensitizing. They are also looking at response. They are also looking at response. How do we respond when somebody has had gender-based violence? We have traditional leaders. So actually, we look at strengthening legal frameworks. We look at prevention, but we also look at a response. The one important thing I must say is we actually work with those who have faced gender-based violence. Because if you have not passed through gender-based violence, you will not understand what it takes. There's a lot of different services that are provided to them. There's a lot of mentorship. There's a lot of encouragement. There's a lot of de-traumatization and all those things that we have to do. So those are some of the things we do to make sure that we prevent, we respond, and then we communicate and report on gender-based violence, whether it's online, whether it's offline.
Oh, Madam Beatrice Eyong, we have to thank you so much for coming on the program this morning to talk about this. We're hoping that people will take it very seriously this year. We're hoping that we can unite to stop digital violence. So if you see somebody being violent online, especially to a woman or a lady, by all means, I think the word to them will be...
Yes. Actually, even a man.
Yes. Oh, even a man?
Even a man.
So men too are covered by this?
Yeah.
And what we want to say to them is, I think the beginning you said is, stop violence.
Violence against women, men, and boys.
You hear that? Stop the violence against women, girls, men, and boys. So thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Elite this morning. Beatrice Eyong is the UN Women Country Representative to Nigeria and ECOWAS. Thank you once more.
Thank you so much for inviting me.